Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and what an episode we have in store for all of you today. Welcome, one, welcome all. This episode today, in celebration of the release of Creed 3. Yes, the third Creed film, which stars Michael B. Jordan. And this go around, he's also the director, which is being released today, March the 3rd, at least the day of the release of this episode. We're going to dive into Creed. But we can't talk Creed without first talking about what started it all. And that is none other than Rocky. Yes, if it wasn't for Rocky, there'd be no Creed. So we have to kind of touch in on Rocky before we get to Creed. Even though today we're not going to go through all of the Rocky films. Even though I would love to, because I love this franchise. I love the Rocky character. And I love all the movies, Every single one holds a special place in my heart. But we're not going to go through all of them because that would be too long of an episode. We'll probably have to do like a 2 or 3 part episode if we were to sit down and review each and every Rocky film. But we are going to review the first two Creed films, Creed from 2015 and Creed 2 from 2018. So those are our two films that we're going to review today. But before we get to those reviews and how the Creed, I guess you could say, franchise came about, let's start off with a little history of this film franchise, the Rocky franchise. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for 45, 50 years, I think we all know Rocky. Who don't know Rocky? When you think of Sylvester Stallone, you think of Rocky. Yeah, some may go, oh, first they pop in their head is Rambo. Some may do that. But the majority, everybody is going to say Rocky. That's Rocky Balboa. And Rocky, the Rocky film series, which is, just unbelievable how you got, what, 8 movies out of this franchise. It's amazing how this has stood the test of time. My entire life, this franchise literally has spanned it from the moment I was born. Actually, 3 years prior. this franchise was here 3 years before I was even born. And here I sit today anticipating the latest film out of this franchise, and I'm 43 years old. Well, if guys say the same, I'll be 44 in a couple of weeks. But this is amazing that something as small as this little boxing movie that came out in 1976 to still have legs, that little small movie that nobody really gave a shot of being just juggernaut of a franchise. And here we stand. This is a sports drama franchise, and it was created by Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky in 3 days. He sat down and wrote this film and wouldn't sell it unless he was able to star in it. That was his thing. He wanted to play the character of Rocky Balboa. So he sat down and he wrote this film. And lo and behold, MGM went on ahead and went with it. They decided to finance this film, back this film, and have Sylvester Stallone as the star. Like I said, it began in 1976, and since it has become a cultural phenomenon centered around the boxing career of one Rocky Balboa. The franchise has been expanded into various films and totaled worldwide a gross of 1.7 billion and is one of the highest grossing media franchises ever. And that's it's crazy to hear that number now because you got uh you got movies that make that individually. You know, you look at a movie like Avatar: The Way of Water, it had made $2 billion by itself. You know, and let's not mention the Avenger films and all these other MCU big blockbuster franchises that do that in one movie. But that's not the poo poo on the accomplishments of this franchise. That is awesome. You know, considering that these films ain't like they spent $100 million to make a Rocky film. You know, I think the first Rocky film was made for like $1 million. Actually, it was under $1 million. I think it was $900,000 to make the first Rocky film back in 1976, and that movie grossed $225 million. You know, that's that's crazy. So it's safe to say that this is a very profitable franchise. The original film, Rocky, was written by Stallone and it was directed by John G. Averson and were followed up by sequels: Rocky 2 in 1979, Rocky 3 in 1982, Rocky 4 in 1985, Rocky 5 in 1990, and Rocky Balboa in 2006, all of which were written and directed by Stallone, with the exception of Rocky 5 in 1990, which they brought back the original director of the first film in 1976, John G. Averson. Uh, After the sixth film, which was Rocky Balboa, it was envisioned as the conclusion to the franchise. That was going to be the end of it. I mean, the character of Rocky Balboa in Rocky Balboa was 60. I don't know how old Sylvester Stallone was at that particular time, but the character was 60 years old. So it's really it was nothing else you could do with a Rocky franchise. You know, up to that point, he came out of retirement. He fought the champion, and they did it in a believable way. He didn't win the fight, you know, and that's what makes the Rocky franchise a little special to me because it is rooted in realism, to a degree, to a degree. Uh, like the first Rocky, he went up against Apollo Creed, played by Carl Weathers, and he lost that fight, but he won the night. You know, he may have lost that fight, but he gained a lot of respect, and that was the basics of it. The fact that he could do it, the fact that he could go out there, the little guy, the underdog, and this was the ultimate underdog story, uh, Rocky Balboa, and and hold his own, you know, and that's what makes Rocky so poignant to me. He wasn't just going out there had a record of 120-0. No, it was some bumps and bruises along the way. Mr. T bust him up in Rocky 3. Uh, the Russian, that's where it got kind of fantastical in Rocky 4. But Rocky 4 is my favorite. It is a lot of people's favorites, but it is the corniest, cheesiest of the Rocky films. But for some strange reason, that film, it just did something to me. It did something. Uh, Rocky with the training montages, you know, when you have the Eye of the Tiger playing in the background, or You're the Best playing in the background, and it was just crazy, man. It hypes you up. It hypes you up. This franchise is so poignant. There is actually right now, if you go to Philadelphia, you will see a statue of Rocky Balboa on those steps that he ran up almost every movie while he was training at that museum, I believe. That statue that wasn't just there for the movie. That is actually there. There is really a Rocky Balboa statue or memorial. Well, not memorial. He's not dead. But I don't know. I haven't seen Creed 3, but either way, this is an actual thing. And I always told myself, if I ever make it to Philadelphia, I'm running those steps. I'm going up them steps, man, and I'm gonna do the pose and throwing up both arms and do, it just it's rooted in me, man. It's rooted in a lot of people. I'm not alone here. I'm more than certain that there are a plethora of people who enjoy this franchise, who enjoy this character and what it represents. The everyman, the underdog, the uh, coming from behind, going against all odds, which we deal with every single day. The Rocky franchise is the franchise for everybody to enjoy. Also, aside from the films, in 2012, there was actually, and I'm not kidding you, people, I had to look it up. I had to look it up. There's a musical, Rocky the Musical, premiered in Hamburg. That's in Germany, and this was an actual show. It even made its way to Broadway in 2014. But the show's set. Now remember what I told you, the first Rocky. Now this musical is based just on the first Rocky film. Now that film in 1976 was made for $1 million. Y'all remember me telling you that, right? The production for this musical was 20 million. The sets for the Broadway show, just for the Broadway show, was 4.3 million. That's just for the sets. Now, that's crazy, being as though the movie was made for a quarter of that. That is so funny to me. Um, I, I wish I had known about that. I don't know if it's still going on. Uh, I don't think it is. Due to my nothing I found showed that it's still running. Definitely not on Broadway, but nowhere else. I don't think I would go anywhere else anyway. But I wish I could have went and seen this just out of curiosity's sake. You know, the show was mostly a bare stage, which represented the gym that Rocky trained in. The production used sliding boxes like sets to represent the homes of the characters, and sliding elements goes on to include full-size regulation boxing rings, audience members seated within the front, stalls, the golden circle seating section, are escorted onto the stage in the final 20 minutes of, to set in a bleacher style seating. In doing so, this allows the boxing ring to enter into an auditorium, and the seats from rows A through F, bringing the audience close to the final fight scene. So after the production of the play, at the end, when you have the fight between Rocky and Apollo, it becomes a boxing match. Oh man, I wish I could have seen that. If it's still going on, please somebody let me know, because I would run to a stage, to an auditorium to see this. This seems so epic to me. Oh my God, I can't believe that I missed out on that. I can't believe that. And in 2014, I believe I gotta go back in my memories, Facebook memories or something like that. Because I was in New York around that time. I went and visit family around that time in New York. I wish I would have known that, and I would have went to Broadway to see that, just for that. It was good to reunite with family, but I wanted to see that production. I think the last production of this was in Prague in 2017. I think that's the last time. There was supposed to be a Korean version, but it was scrapped. I think I forgot what I read about that, but it didn't get off the ground. I think the ticket sales or something like that, it didn't take off. It didn't sell out or nothing like that. So they just canceled the show. But man, I would love to see this. If somebody got it on video, I gotta look on YouTube and see. If, if somebody videoed it or something, I would love to see that. Anyways, yeah, that goes to show you how poignant of a story this is. That it can, span across different medias. Not just TV or film, even on the stage. So, uh, yeah, man, Rocky and Sylvester Stallone. He is owed a lot of flowers. All the credit goes to him for writing this something that I saw him uh in an interview once, and he was talking about when he wrote Rocky and how he sat down. He kind of, I think he rented a cabin or something like that for over a weekend, and he just sat in there and just wrote for 3 days. He wrote that film. And for those who don't know, who've never written a screenplay, it takes weeks, if not months, to really write a screenplay. I've been struggling to write a screenplay for 20 years, and I still haven't, I still haven't nailed it the way I want because I'm so judgmental of my, when I go back, I'll read this, that doesn't good, that's not good. So I'll go back and I'll be fighting with that scene, writing that, and I never get to the end because I'm too busy rewriting and going, instead of just going. And that's what he was explaining in his interview. He was like, a lot of writers don't just write. They don't focus. They don't have that discipline to just sit down and write. Because he said his first draft was horrible. He said it was a horrible screen. It was a horrible draft, but he finished it, and he was able to go back and tweak it and whatnot. And ultimately, voila, here we go. We get what we get. But he just stuck with it, and that's something I gotta do. I gotta bury myself in this office and write, and not be distracted and not allow things to distract me, so to speak. But not just me, you too. And it don't have to be screenwriting. It's whatever your passion is. If you're passionate about something, you have to really sit down and focus and not be distracted by outside forces and let your passion run wild. Now, if your passion is to murder people, I would suggest seek help. I'm not talking about that I'm talking about passion for something of artistic value, or something like your business. You trying to get your small business off the ground or whatever it may be. Just sit down, focus, like Sylvester Stallone, and he is the last person you would expect to be a catalyst for this movement. But God sends you messengers in the least expected places. And Sylvester Stallone was that for me. I was sat down like, man, Sly, Sly really, and yeah, Sly, old Stallone. But yeah, man, the Rocky franchise is a juggernaut, man. And to touch in on Rocky Four, uh, Rocky Four, when it came out, when it came out in what there was 90, or was it 85? No, that was the one in 85. I remember being in the front room watching this movie over and over. I can recite word for word Rocky Four. I can recite it word for word. I used his training montage. I used to emulate it move for move while the Russian Dolph Lundgren was doing his workouts in this gym with all the state of the art equipment and all this here. Rocky was out in the snow and you know pulling wagons by hand and lifting up boulders, not boulders but rocks, and had it in nets and just work it out like that and running through the snow, and it just all the stuff that he was doing I was emulating. That's how much I was just completely invested in Rocky Four. Then the monumental moment, and why I'm focusing on Rocky Four, because Rocky Four is the reason for these group of films that we're going to review today, Creed. Because in Rocky Four, we got the most unexpected of unexpected things. Apollo Creed, played by Carl Weathers, went up against this Russian, Drago, who's supposed to be this unstoppable machine, and from Russia, and they fought. You know, we had the big grand entrance by Apollo with James Brown's singing "Only in America," and he's coming down off the rafters. It was an exhibition fight, and you know, Apollo is his cocky Apollo self, and the Russian killed him, murdered him in the ring. I'll say murder, but he killed him in the ring, and that just springboarded Rocky to go on this just vengeance boxing tirade to defeat the Russian. But I remember the one thing that I'll always take away from this. When I was younger, I would sit there and I'd be like, well, what's the retribution here? Because he killed Apollo. You just knocked him out in the ring. I don't see where you got your vengeance. I never did when I was little. I was like, that's vengeance? You just knocked him out. It really didn't knock him out. You just knocked him down. He couldn't answer the count. And I was like, that ain't enough for me. I need you to break his jaw or something, you know, break his kill him. I mean, break his arm or dislocate his kneecap or something. I need you to do something. He killed Apollo, you know. That beating him in the ring wasn't enough. But I get the symbolism of it all. That it wasn't Drago he was fighting. He was fighting the Soviet Union, and he defeated the Soviet Union. And so I get all that, but it was just one of the things that I took away from watching Rocky 4 when I was a little youngster. But the death of Apollo Creed is what leads us into our films that we're going to review today. Starting off in 2015, Creed. Creed, and it's a film around that time that I didn't think I wanted, but I'm so happy I got. And I'm gonna try to get through this. I'm gonna try to get through this review without getting emotional, because it has a lot of emotional weight associated with this film for me personally, just for me. And so it's kind of biased here. I'm gonna be upfront and honest. It's kind of biased here, but I'm gonna give as honest of a review as I can to the 2015 film Creed. But before we jump into the review, let's go over how this film came about. Back in 2013, MGM had signed Ryan Coogler, who is fresh off of his debut film Fruitvale Station, to direct Creed, to direct this spinoff. And this was a personal film for him. Ryan Coogler recalls watching these films with his father, and how the Rocky films brought him and his father closer together and whatnot. But there was one hurdle to cross in order to get this film made, and that is none other than Sylvester Stallone. Being as though this is his baby, this is his franchise, he created it, he wrote and directed the majority of these films, so this is him, this is his thing. And so they had to get Sylvester Stallone's blessing to make this film. Well, initially, you know, of course, Sylvester Stallone being a good guy, you know, this film being about the underdog, the little guy coming to, you know, overcoming obstacles and whatnot. Of course, he understands where Ryan Coogler was coming from. So immediately, Sylvester Stallone said no. He did not want to make Creed. He did not want to make another Rocky film. He was done. He was happy with Rocky Balboa. He felt that his story was wrapped up, he was satisfied with the conclusion of the Rocky franchise. He felt no need to go any further, and that's understandable, because it was wrapped up with a nice bow with the Rocky Balboa film, and so I can understand from his standpoint. Well, Ryan Coogler, he persists. He would not let up, and he convinced him. He came with the story, uh, explained to him exactly how he wanted to tell this story, what's the story he wanted to bring to the screen, and he won. He won Sylvester Stallone over. So not only did he agree to appear in the film, but he also helped write the screenplay. So they're about to go into pre-production, and tragedy struck. Uh, Sylvester Stallone's son, Sage, who appeared in a Rocky. As a matter of fact, Rocky Four. He was Rocky's son. That was actually Sylvester Stallone's son, Sage. And right before production, Sage died of a heart attack. And Sylvester Stallone, he was just done. He was on the verge of a full breakdown. And Ryan Coogler talked to him. Ryan Coogler told him, "Look, the best way to get through this is to honor him with this film. You know, use that in this film. This film is about a father and son relationship, and this is the perfect film to use this tragedy by honoring your son." And you can tell. Oh my God, you can tell in this movie. Uh, Creed was released in 2015. It is an American sports drama film directed by Ryan Coogler, who also wrote the screenplay with Aaron Covington along with Sylvester Stallone. The film serves as a spin-off and is the seventh installment in the Rocky franchise. The film stars Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, Tessa Thompson, Felicia Rashad, Graham McTash. In the film, amateur boxer Adonis Creed is trained and mentored by Rocky Balboa, the former rival turned friend of Adonis's father, Apollo Creed. This was well, let me just get it out the way so I can get over it. I'm I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, so if you heard this before, forgive me. But in 2015, Sylvester Stallone wasn't the only one hit with tragedy. In 2015, I lost my father. Um, September, matter of fact, September of that year, and I was done. I had a breakdown. I was so broken as a human being because me and my father were extremely close. And the matter of fact, we watched all those Rocky films together. We watched all films together. He's the reason why I'm sitting here today talking to you all. My love of film comes from him, and I lost him to pancreatic cancer. Well, I didn't lose. I hate the term lose because I know where he is. You lose something, you don't know where they at. I know where he is, so I didn't lose him. But he left us in 2015, and so I was done. I went to work. I'll come home from work and I'll lock myself up in the bedroom. I never came out. Matter of fact, my wife had to bring dinner to the bedroom. I just did not leave the room. Only time I left was to go to work, and I barely did that. I mean, I was just emotionally spent. So we get to Thanksgiving of 2015, and Creed comes out, and of course, already had my question marks about Creed because, like Sylvester Stallone, I felt like, look, we done milked this Rocky cow dry. There's nothing else left in Rocky. There's no reason to go back into this franchise. And now, okay, the son of Apollo. It's like I don't really want to. I didn't care to see it. I really did. And so I never really had no inkling to go see this movie, especially around that time. I didn't go see anything. Um, around I didn't like I said I didn't leave the house. So I was at work, and it was around the holidays, of course. The movie had came out, and I still had vacation time. And before I, the new year starts, you have to use all your vacation time of that year, and I hadn't used it because I had no reason to. I had nowhere to go, and so I had to use it. I had a couple hours left, and so I decided, okay, I'll just leave work. I'll just take a half a day, such and such day. I don't remember what day it was. And a friend of mine, he was like, "Man, did you ever go see Creed?" I like, "Nah, I didn't go see Creed." And he was like, "Man, when you leave, won't you go to the movies?" And I guess he knew that I just was not there, and I really wasn't. I was there, but I wasn't there. So if I was to go home, I was just gonna mope around the house or whatever. And so he's like, "Man, why don't you go to the movies? Go see Creed." I said, "You know what? I guess I'll go sit in the theater. I hadn't been in the movies in a while. I'll go." So left work early that day and went and sat down to watch Creed. Creed Creed saved my life. Creed was the story that I honestly needed at that time. Just like it was therapeutic for Sylvester Stallone to get over the loss of his son in order to work on this film, which parallels things in his life, it was the same thing. I needed to watch this in order to move on. In this film, just like Rocky's themes throughout its entire run of a franchise, is to get up, is to keep pushing. No matter how many times you get knocked down, you get back up. And this film did it for me. And it added a little piece to to kind of stick the knife in and twist it a little bit. In this film, Rocky Balboa is diagnosed with a form of cancer. And what did it for me was when Rocky was sitting in the office and the doctor is telling him what they found. And like, okay, we can start chemo immediately and blah blah blah. And Rocky's response is, I'm all right. I'm at peace. I'm at peace with it. I don't need it. I don't want it. And why that hit me and why I started crying in the theater was that was the conversation that I had with my dad when he went through around and they found out that it was spreading, it was worse, it was really nothing else they could do. And I told him, like, look, we can go here, we can go to this different doctors, find maybe it's something else, get a second opinion or whatever. And he told me, I'm at peace. I'm fine. I'm at peace. And to hear that in this movie from Rocky Balboa, it just, I'm not going to say it floored me. It picked me up off the floor. And for the character of Adonis Creed, played beautifully by Michael B. Jordan, to be that, that kind of force behind Rocky to tell him, Rocky for all this time has been that symbol of get up, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And for him to kind of throw in the towel and for Adonis Creed to be the one to tell Rocky to pick himself up by his bootstraps and we can fight this together as he trains for this fight, you fight for your life. And it was so beautiful. And that's where you get this father son dynamic throughout this film. And it was so beautiful. And when I left out that theater, I was able to move around. I was able to do different things. I was starting to get a little sense of normalcy back in my life. Don't get me wrong, even to this day, right now, as I'm fighting back tears, telling this story, I, it still, weighs me down, but I'm able to push forward. And I tell y'all no word a lie. It was this film that did it for me. This film literally saved me because I was done. I was done. I like to laugh and joke and play. There was no laughing and joking and playing until after my father died. I just was not myself. I was if I could dive in that coffin with them as they lowered it, I probably would have did it. But yeah, man, this was the film, and I praise this film for that. Now, going into this review, without taking the bias, I decided to give the bias out first, so I could attack this in an unbiased way. Uh, Creed overall is an outstanding film. Outstanding film. Is it the greatest boxing movie of all time? No. Is it the greatest Rocky film of all time? I would say no. Um, but is it an awesome film? Yes. This was an excellently made film by Ryan Coogler. You can tell why right now he is one of the hottest directors in Hollywood. Coming off of Fruitvale Station, which I just recently watched. It took me years to actually watch that movie, and I finally watched it. Uh, what, last month maybe? And I was like, okay, I see. And then going into this film, and then you see what he did with the Black Panther films. He is an outstanding filmmaker who is able to pierce your soul. I that's rare. That is a talent. That's something you can't teach. That is just in him. That is in people. And he does it perfectly. And the story of this film, we follow Adonis Johnson at the time, who is the son of Apollo Creed, from let's just say some extramarital activities from Apollo. He's just a hothead, man. He's been in and out of detention centers. He fights in these little underground bars in Tijuana. He's living with what can we describe her as? Because Phylicia Rashad wasn't his mother. She was the wife of Adonis, but that wasn't his mother. Stepmom, I guess you could say. I guess stepmom. I don't know how that works, but anyway, she lives with her, but she does treat him like, and I love that too. She doesn't treat him like this little redheaded stepchild, in a sense. She really does care for him, as if that's her son, as if she carried him for 9 months. She really does love him as a son, and I appreciated that performance from Phylicia Rashad. She, man, look, I don't think she gets the flowers she deserves. Phylicia Rashad. We all know her from the Cosby Show, and she didn't get her flowers there. Do you realize Phylicia Rashad never won an Emmy? Never won an Emmy for the Cosby Show. Phylicia Rashad has been everybody's mother who would lived during that time of the Cosby Show's run. I mean, she is the quintessential TV mom, in my humble view. I love Phylicia Rashad, and she had that here. It was elements of that here of her mother. Stern yet loving. Reminds me of my mom, even though it's more sternness than. I know she's listening. That's what I'm saying. But it is a lot of sternness with her, but it's all with love. And she being Phylicia Rashad displayed it beautifully throughout this film. The relationship between her and Adonis Creed. Adonis meets this young lady who is deaf, or partially deaf. Is she fully deaf? I can't. I never did really understand. I think she's partially deaf. Either way it go, there's some deafness in it, in there, and she's portrayed by Tessa Thompson, who I must say, really good job here. Tessa Thompson is an awesome actress, and she occasionally, for me, can kind of bore me with her performances, and it's not often now. It's not often. Uh, just a couple of movies that she was in, and I was like, why is she in this movie? It was like she just drained the energy out. You know, what was that? Men in Black International. Now, I'm not blaming her because that movie was horrible, but I mean, she was just bland to me in that movie, and I just didn't like it. Of course, to be fair, all of them, everybody was bland in that movie. That was a bad movie. And that's saying something about the Men in Black franchise. That was the worst, but it was horrible, man. But anyways, not here. She was awesome here. I love the chemistry between her and Michael B. Jordan. I believe their love story. It progressed fairly realistic. Uh, it was a real love story, and I enjoyed that. Enjoyed the fight scenes. You know, one thing about the Rocky films is the boxing, and the boxing can look a little choppy at times. You know, a little fake. Now I know you're not supposed to hit nobody for real. Now there are a couple of Rocky films where there is real hitting. Um, I want to refer back to Rocky Four. This is the reason why it's my favorite one is the real punches. There were real punches. I believe that Dolph Lundgren hit Sylvester Stallone so hard in one of the scenes in the chest, I believe. They had to stop the film. Sylvester Stallone actually had like a slight cardiac arrest. They had to stop filming for a couple of weeks because they hit him so hard. And so, but he encouraged that. Michael B. Jordan the same way. He encouraged you to hit him. You know, whoever was standing across from him, and you could tell in this film there was real punches thrown, real action in the ring. I I enjoyed it all. It was fun to watch. I I must be honest. I have only watched this movie twice or two and a half times because, like I said, this is tough for me personally. It is a hard watch because of the personal connections I have with this film. But I, I haven't deterred from watching it because it's bad, because it is not. This is truly one of the best uh, boxing films. It's one of the best Rocky films, not the best, but one of the best, and it deserves to be in the pantheon of great Rocky films. Creed from 2020, not 2020, 2015 gets a letter grade of an A minus. Yes, I did give it a little curve because of my personal bias, but hey, who cares? This is my review. Uh, it is awesome. It is an awesome film. It's really no flaws in this film, honestly. That A minus is legitimate. It is a well-made film that deserves all its flowers. It end up grossing 110 million dollars just in North America alone. I think $65 million overseas. Bringing it to $175 million grand total worldwide off of a $35 million budget. This film was nominated for one Academy Award, and it was uh, the most, I would say, disappointing loss at the Academy Awards I've ever seen. I've seen some scrubs. I've seen some uh, wins that kind of make you scratch your head, but this one here really hurt me when I watched it back in 2016, and it was for best supporting actor, best supporting actor in a film, and it was Sylvester Stallone, and he gave one of his best performances I've ever seen. And people forget how accomplished of an actor Sylvester Stallone is. Like I said to start off this show, when we think of Sylvester Stallone, we think of all the action films, Rambo, Cobra, all those movies like that. And you forget that First Blood, uh, Sylvester Stallone gave a powerful performance. You forget about Rocky, the first Rocky in 1976. He was nominated for Best Actor for playing this same character, and he is one of three people, I believe, who have been nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor for playing the same role. And he earned, I believe he should have won that year. I can't remember off the top of my head who did win. No disrespect to them, but Sylvester Stallone gave a performance of a lifetime as far as the Rocky Balboa film franchise is concerned. So that leads us into our second review of today. Yeah, we got Duce today, and of course, no brainer. We are reviewing Creed 2, released in 2018. Yeah, people. Now this one here, I had mixed emotions going into this. Just like the first one, I had mixed emotions on the first one because I thought, like I said, that we were done with the Rocky franchise. This is enough. We're good. We don't need to see anymore. But after Creed was such an accomplishment, yeah, I was excited for another Creed film. Yet, when I saw the trailer for Creed 2, it was a combination of, oh my God, they're doing this. And, oh my God, really? And the reason I had that feeling was that it looked great. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea to have Adonis Creed go up against the son of Ivan Drago, the man who killed his father in the ring. I was like, okay, that's smart. But then I thought, man, that is so cheesy. That is so cheesy. I thought, like, man, this, I don't know. I want this, but I don't want this. I was battling within myself. It was crazy. And ultimately, me wanting to see it won the day, and I'm happy for it. Creed 2 was released in 2018, and of course, it's a sports drama. And this time around, it was directed by Stephen Cable Jr. This is his first film, and I'm impressed with the young man. I'm so impressed. Stephen Cable Jr. is the director of the new Transformers film that is coming out later this year, Transformer: Rise of the Beast, and that looks awesome. So I'm happy to see that. And yeah, he black, so that was an extra little nugget. But this go around, the film is written by Joel Taylor and Sylvester Stallone, and as I said before, in the film, under the continued tutelage of Rocky Balboa, Adonis Creed faces up against Victor Drago, the son of Ivan Drago. Returning in this film, we have Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, Tessa Thompson, Felicia Rashad, joining, or I guess you could say returning, all the way back from Rocky 4. We have Dolph Lundgren returning as Ivan Drago. We have Filion Montuda, I believe that's his name. I'm pretty sure I butchered it, but he plays Victor Drago, the son of Ivan. Wood Harris, Andre Ward, and also returning to this franchise after last appearing in Rocky 4, Bridget Nelson. Yeah, Bridget Nielsen, I believe. Yeah, Nielsen, not Nelson. Who plays Ivan Drago's ex-wife. Look, bruh, and Victor's mother, by the way. Bruh, this was really good. This was really good. I'm gonna say straight off the bat, it wasn't as good as the first one. It wasn't as good as Creed, but it was entertaining. I thought the story. I was more invested in the story of Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson in their marriage and her having a baby now. You know, she's about to have a baby. And the dynamic of Adonis being afraid that his child was going to be born deaf or hearing impaired, like uh, 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 Bianca, you know, and they have the child and come to find out, yes, that the baby truly is hearing impaired. And that scene, and this is where, as much as I like to poo poo on Michael B. Jordan, as much as I enjoy him in so many projects, but sometimes he kind of just irks my nerves. But not in this. The scene when they were testing the baby's hearing, and you know that the baby is hearing impaired and can't hear, and he's standing behind that glass, and he's not saying anything, he's not moving, and you just see it all on his face, man, and the tears coming down his eyes. It was just so crushing to see, and he played it so well. The acting in here was amazing. Like I said, the fights were good. The final fight at the end with Creed and Drago was good fight, real good fight. I like some of the camera work in it, but the acting really stood out to me, and I I think this is Michael B. Jordan's best as this character, being as though it was only two up to this point. We'll see later today with this third one, but man, he really brought a different level to this character through this film. It was good to see Dolph Lundgren come back, and he was broken. From last we saw him in Rocky Four, not on his back, but you know, as this celebrated figure in the Soviet Union. Now he's just a broken man, and you know, basically Rocky stole his life. You know, he was set to be this just juggernaut, and it was derailed by Rocky. And you see the results of that. Losing his wife and losing uh, 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 the life he had. All he has is his son, and he's basically just training his son to be just as ferocious and brutal and uh, uh, callous as he was as a fighter. So this is a different challenge for Creed. This one here, this isn't about a belt. This isn't about rankings or status. This is really a fight for life, man. You know, this was a fight for life. But it was great. It was a great fight. Great story. I love the fact that they went into the story of the Dragos. You know, it wasn't just them on this vengeful mission to derail Adonis Creed, you know, to exact revenge on them. No, it really was deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? And I, I I enjoyed that. Like I said, the acting outshined the boxing of it all. So yeah, overall, I thought it was an awesome film. It stands up and it is worthy to be considered a Rocky film for whatever that's worth to you. But it is an awesome movie, and Creed 2 gets a letter grade of a B plus. Really enjoyed that film. I've enjoyed all of the Creed films. That's why I'm so excited for this third one. And I'm excited for a number of reasons. I don't have the same concerns that I had for the previous two Creed films. You know, I was worried about those films. You know, oh man, how many more of these Rocky movies we're gonna get? You know, I had all that. You know, like man, they really starting to go towards the cheese factor in Rocky 2 with Drago. I mean, what's the next one gonna be? Mr. T son? You know, it's gonna be Clubber Lang Jr. He's gonna fight. I mean, what are we? Where are we heading here? But um, uh, I'm excited for Michael B. Jordan. Like I said, he has made this character his own, which is great. Um, but he's directing this go around. This is his directorial debut. So let's see how this goes. Is he following the same tropes as Sylvester Stallone? You know, Sylvester Stallone took over the franchise completely when he started writing and directing all of the Rocky films. So is that the route we're going? This is the first, I guess you could say, quote unquote, Rocky film that will not have Rocky. Sylvester Stallone is not involved in Creed 3. And so that's going to be a change. So let's see where we go there. And the biggie of them all is Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors playing the antagonist in this film has me just over the moon, excited, hyped up, ready to roll. I'm Jonathan Majors has in a short time become my favorite actor working in Hollywood. He is so amazing as an actor. Uh, for everyone who's seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which came out a couple of weeks ago, I know it's been kind of divisive. You know, either you like it or you don't like the movie. But what both sides can agree on is that Jonathan Majors was amazing in that movie. It had whether you liked it or hated it, you still walked away saying Jonathan Majors killed that movie. I mean, he in a good way. He owned that role of King the Conqueror. And in every film that he was, The Harder They Fall, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, The Five Bloods. I mean, the list goes on and on. This Devotion, he has owned every role that he has been in every film that he has been a part of. So in this film, I'm excited to see where this goes. But that remains to be seen. Are you excited for it? I am. How do you feel about the Rocky franchise? Are you a bigger fan of this franchise as I am? I mean, this is the quintessential sports franchise. You really don't have too many sports franchise films. What you got? The Major League movies? Really? The Bad News Bears movies? I mean, what else sports franchise films? You don't have that. And this is the only one you have, truly, that is good of any merit. I love these movies. Love them all for their own individual way. I can acknowledge when they're bad. I can acknowledge when they're kind of cheesy, but I still enjoy them for what they were. They were what they were, and they don't apologize for what they are. And I love it for that. You can contact this show by email, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also contact this show on Twitter at KB Radio Network and on other social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Everybody, don't forget 5 stars, reviews, and sharing. If you are listening to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever it is you are currently listening to the KB Radio Network. And don't forget, over on YouTube, give us a subscribe. Don't forget you can share the show there as well. Everybody, I'm glad you joined me today for our little review of the entire Rocky franchise and our movie reviews of Creed and Creed 2 in anticipation for Creed 3, which is being released March the 3rd. I can't wait to go see that. Hope to see you all there. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another. And until we speak again, everybody, you all be blessed.